Nintendo!
Hey everyone, this is Chrono. This morning, the D4 devs held their first of 2 live streams leading into Season 2. It's a pretty hefty video, so if you just wanted a recap of the highlights, you're in the right place. This live stream covered the upcoming seasonal theme and its mechanics, new in-game bosses, and a lot of quality of life changes. Let's jump right into it. The theme this time around revolves around vampires. The main antagonist's name is Lord Zier, and he'll be one of the new in-game bosses we can use to target farm a subset of uniques. Eris is the lower companion this time around, serving a similar role to Corman in Season 1. Early in the seasonal campaign, our character will contract vampirism, giving us access to vampiric powers which we can equip using the Sanguine Circle interface. In Season 1, the malignant powers were only present on our jewelry, but this time around the focus shifts onto our armor slots. Your helm, chest, gloves, legs, and boots have some pact icons below them. There are 3 categories of packs. Each individual vampiric power requires some combo of packs in order to activate. We're not at the mercy of RNG like we were in Season 1, where we needed a specific combo of malignant colors to optimize your loadout. There are consumable items you can find to clear out the packs the items come with, as well as add specific packs you actually want. In total, there are 22 powers that are all class agnostic. I do kinda wish there were a couple of class specific ones to add more character to the theme, but that's a discussion for another video. I won't go over the effects of every power here, so I'll provide a link to the blog in the description if you wanted to read through each one. There's a new open world event called the Blood Harvest that's unique to Season 2. It's available immediately at level 1, and there is always one of these in progress at any given time somewhere in the world. Unlike Helltides, the currency you acquire here persists when the event jumps locations. These will be a great place to farm potent blood to level up your vampiric powers, but it's also where you'll make progress on the Hunter's Acclaim board in town that'll unlock some of the vampiric powers as well as cosmetics. Alright, now for the new in-game bosses. There are 2 brand new boss encounters that you can face off against in World Tier 3. Looking at this chart, you'll need to find components by doing Helltides and the Tree of Whispers in order to gain access. This is similar to how Ubers are unlocked in Diablo 2. The remaining 3 bosses are available in World Tier 4. Each of these will have their own table of possible uniques that you can target farm. The Uber Duriel has the added bonus of having an increased chance to drop Uber uniques. The devs gave us the impression that Uber uniques will no longer be impossible to obtain, and you'll most certainly be seeing your friends running around with these drops. The remainder of the livestream covered a surprising volume of quality of life changes, all of which are very welcome. The promised change to Scrolls of Escape is arriving, so hardcore players will be bailed out from deaths caused by DCs. Everybody is getting 2 additional character slots when the season begins. Can't complain there. The most notable changes on this page are related to EXP gains. Instances will now grant bonus EXP, and all EXP bonuses will be multiplicative with the World Tier bonus. This is huge and will result in cutting the time it takes to reach level 100 by about 40%. Mounts are getting some buffs and will hopefully be less miserable to use. Their base speed is getting a 14% increase, the speed boost will have much higher uptime, and the cooldown to remount has been greatly reduced. We're finally going to be able to TP straight into a Nightmare dungeon, saving everyone a whole extra load screen per dungeon. The events that take place within dungeons are getting density buffs to make them worth considering, and any NPCs that partake in events won't get one-shot anymore. Leveling up Paragon Glyphs will be much faster to adjust for how much more EXP we'll be getting. That one just makes sense. Many of the worst affixes are getting some long-awaited adjustments. Backstabber will no longer cause you to suddenly get bursted down within seconds, and instead, it'll apply Vulnerable, which scales with a key level. Crit resist will actually be worth doing. It'll still be a nuisance, but it won't straight up brick your key anymore. Death Pulse will no longer happen on enemies that already have on-death effects. And there will no longer be a bajillion pulses all spawning on top of each other. Lightning Storm is an affix I just flat out refuse to ever consider. It's easily the worst in my opinion. They're changing it to only take effect while you're in combat, so it isn't wasting your time while you're just traversing the dungeon or picking up loot. It also won't trigger unless you have line of sight on the disc. to prevent situations where you're forced to take the hit. Drifting Shade is getting some nerfs to lower its uptime. This isn't the worst affix, but these changes make it much less annoying and persistent. Some objectives are just flat out being removed from dungeons, leaving you to only need to zoom through and find the boss. Thank God for this. I absolutely hate that they added these to an ARPG. We're here to blast, and these just waste time for no reason. Additionally, objectives are more likely to be placed along the natural path to reduce the odds of backtracking or missing something. And to couple with this, mini-maps are getting layout reworks to serve this same philosophy. World events will be happening more often, with world boss timers almost getting cut in half. This will make it easier to catch one of these if you don't have much time to set aside throughout the day. The Tree of Whispers cache is getting a big buff, and the devs put a particularly strong emphasis on this, so supposedly this could be enough of an incentive to focus farm these for the sake of getting heaps of gold. Experience from Whispers and Helltide have been greatly increased as well. I'm hoping this will put them on par with the sigil so that it doesn't feel so bad to do a variety of content. Because that's what made it feel really horrible, setting aside time to farm Malignant Tunnels for a barber early in Season 1. We will finally be able to search and filter through our stash, so you aren't wasting time repeatedly hovering over every item. These filters will be applied across all tabs as well. All we need now is more space, which is something they haven't addressed yet, so I'm hoping that's something they give us during the season at least. As promised, gems will no longer take up inventory space, and instead, we will be finding gem shards that are placed in the Materials tab. Once you use these to craft a gem, then of course that gem will take up space, but we won't need to save up 7 spots in your bag anymore for no reason. Here's one I was hoping to see, so I'm really glad they went through with it. Enchantment costs are getting adjusted to be more manageable. So the initial cost will be slightly increased, but the rate that it ramps up will be much less aggressive and less likely to break the bank. This last one was a weird one. In World Tier 3, any item that isn't sacred will simply drop crafting mats. And this rule applies for non-ancestral items in World Tier 4. You'll end up with more crafting mats in the long run, but I wonder how much of an effect this will have on our goal. Since enchantment costs are getting nerfed anyway, maybe we won't need to sell everything we come across. And they did clarify that these rules don't apply to legendaries. Those will always drop even if the quality isn't up to par with the world tier. This next one might be the most impactful change for how the base game feels. Players have been vocal about how we cap out on power very early into World Tier 4, so this is their attempt to alleviate it. There will now be roughly a 75 item power range that can drop from enemies based on their level. This means the harder the content, the better the loot. At first I thought Rod Ferguson had misspoke, but they did reaffirm that there will be a new item power ceiling of 920, greatly increasing the stat ranges in this gear. This alone could cover most of the defenses that we're about to lose from dropping the Revenge Malignant Heart. And we're getting a big boost defensively too. These changes give us a reason to avoid doing low level sigils and push into higher brackets to both maximize the difficulty and the potential rewards. There were a handful of smaller changes that I left out to keep this video from getting too long. But what was covered here are the things you definitely want to know going into Season 2. As a reminder, the next season won't have any leaderboards or sanctioned competitive features. They clarified that those are coming in Season 3, along with a new type of content for those looking to push themselves. Hopefully this video has got you caught up to speed with the big changes. We'll be back next week to cover the class changes and the damage bucket adjustments discussed in the final livestream before Season 2 begins. In the meantime, leaving a like and a sub goes a long way in supporting the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!